We have All American Selections, Trials, Winners, and Opportunities, and Diane Blazek with the All American Selections National Garden Bureau is going to speak to us about that today. But really quickly, first, we're going to do a really quick poll so you can self-identify. It should pop up on your screen. Take a minute or two to fill that out, and then we'll have Diane pull up her screen.
Okay, while you guys are finishing that poll, we are going to let Jennifer share her screen real quick before Diane gets started.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for switching that around on me.
Good morning. I had to step away for a second, and I heard my name. Are you wanting me to start now?
Please, that would be great.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ann. I'm Jennifer Markey. I am at Washington State University, the Master Gardener Program Director there. I'm also immediate past chair of the Extension Master Gardener National Committee, Master Gardener Coordinator National Committee, and I am co-chair of the Impact and Evaluation Committee with Katie Dunker from Colorado. On that team is Carrie Smith from Auburn, Annie Baker from K-State, and Grant Zock from USDA. Yesterday, I sent a survey to all of you, or maybe that was Monday, asking you to complete a survey in Qualtrics telling us about the impacts of your Extension Master Gardener program. And I was invited to present today to give you, hopefully inspire you to pull up that survey and enter your data on or before March 15th so that we can aggregate the data nationally and be able to tell a compelling and impactful story about the work that we do. The survey is very much the same as it was last year. So we're asking, how many volunteers do you have? How many volunteers did you train? Information about pollinator, activities in your counties, information about work that you do in food gardening, local food, community gardens. We're also asking about race, ethnicity, gender, and age categories for your volunteers so we can really understand who we're serving and who we're not maybe serving. So pretty straightforward. I think most of you are used to answering these questions by now. If you're a county coordinator, please speak with, make sure you understand how your state director would like you to answer the questions. If you are entering as a county coordinator, it's fine. We can sort the data in Excel once we pull it out of Qualtrics. We do have one question this year that is different. We've been asked by USDA to estimate the amount of federal funding that comes to our Extension Master Gardener programs. So we did a little bit of digging around really what that question is asking us. What do they want to know? And so the question on the survey really will speak directly to Smith Lever dollars. So it's salary support. Smith Lever dollars are for salary support. So I'm trying to find the question right now on the survey so I can just read it aloud to you. I'm not coming up with it. But anyway, so if you're not sure if you are supported by Smith Lever dollars, you can visit with your extension finance or business office, however your university handles it, in an effort to get at that number so we can provide a report to USDA on the amount of Smith Lever dollars that are coming into our Master Gardener program. So the what we do with the data that we collect, we put together a dashboard that shows how many direct contacts we have nationally in the Master Gardener program, how many volunteer hours, the value of that. We look at the value of our food donations, pounds of food donated, media reach, and then the number of volunteers and the number of returning or existing volunteers in a given year. So we'll be doing that for 2024 with your help. So please grab that email that I sent to you. It came from my WSU email address. It's a Qualtrics survey. Grab that and enter your data by March 15th. Thank you, Anne and Ashley, for the opportunity to inspire everybody to enter their impact data.
No,
Right.
thanks. I appreciate you clarifying that, Jennifer. I think that could have been confusing if people weren't sure if they were supposed to fill out the survey or how that was going. So then the county coordinator should just contact their state coordinator to make sure what you need to do. So yeah, if your county coordinator, reach out to your state coordinator and say, is this something I need to fill out, or is this something you're compiling? Because this data is super important, and everybody can use it in all of their programming, just to show the big impacts that we have throughout your county, state, and throughout the US too. So thanks a lot.
I didn't share on that dashboard. You can click into it and see your state data.
Yeah, that's great to show, to your stakeholders and things. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll get back to sharing. We'll just have Diane go ahead and share her screen since I've already introduced her. She can go ahead and get started. So again, she's talking about All-American selections. If you have questions for Diane as we go through, you can put them in the chat, and then we'll take them after the presentation, since we are recording this. So type them in the chat or save them till the end, and we'll unmute, and you're welcome to ask Diane directly any questions that you might have as well. So take it away, Diane.
Okay, thank you so much. I went ahead and real quick put in the two websites for our two organizations. As I was introduced, I am the executive director for All America Selections and National Garden Bureau. It's two separate organizations. But especially for Master Gardeners, both of them have a lot of information that can be used on those websites. Everything we do, we're nonprofit, so everything that we do can be used by anyone. I mean, you can get inspiration from them, ideas from them, you can take excerpts, whatever it is that you might find on those websites that are usable for you. So we definitely encourage that. And there we go. Here's what we're talking about today is, what do these AAS logos mean? And I have to say that I'm very excited to be here. I must say that Master Gardener Groups and Extension are some of our largest supporters, and we really appreciate that. So I love having a chance to be here to explain what these logos mean, like how does an AAS winner become an AAS winner? And okay, so just a little bit about me. This is me as a 1-year-old helping my dad on a family farm. I grew up in Missouri. I'm now part-time in Chicago, part-time up in Rochester, Minnesota. So I get, for the Midwest, I get some varying gardening climates to work in. Here's the two logos of the two organizations that I work for. One of the most common questions I get is, well, what's your favorite thing to grow? And it's basil. And don't tell all my non-gardener friends, but you and I both know basil is one of the easiest things in the world to grow, but I get to impress them when I make pesto when they come over. So let's keep that secret among ourselves. And then I just had to add a picture of my grandpuppy because, something, what they say in Hollywood, like never go with babies or pets or whatever. And I have found in this, when I'm doing the presentation live, I get so many more oohs and ahs when I show that little grandpuppy. And by the way, his name is Gooseberry Rigatoni. So anyway, gotta love that little guy. And so now we're going to talk about All America selections. we were founded in 1932, so we've been around a little while, 93 years now. And Mr. Ray Hastings was a Southern seedsman, and I like to call him a doubting Thomas. Between the two world wars is when a lot of new breeding was coming about, so a lot of new hybrids, and the breeders were promoting them and making different claims. And he said, well, I'm not sure. How am I going to believe you? You know, how do I know that these claims that you're making are accurate? So he decided to found this organization, so a neutral nonprofit trialing organization. So what he did was he established these trials, and it set up standards for evaluating and scoring. In fact, pretty much what he set up in 1932 is what we're still using now in 2025. And it's what a lot of the industry uses, you know, comparisons and things like that. And why would a breeder want to enter the AAS trials? Because it's an award, it's a badge of honor, it's an incentive for the breeders to continue to breed really good products. The way I do like to equate this is it's similar to underwriter laboratories or a good housekeeping seal of approval. What they do is they test things in a home environment, and if they perform well, then they get to have that badge of honor on them. And that's the same thing that the AAS logo is. We're testing new products in the average home garden setting. Now, they're not in home gardens. That's not where we do our testing, but I'll explain that in just a little bit. Going back, we were founded in 1932. The first trials were in 1933. So the first winners were the 1934 AAS winners. And this was Better Homes and Gardens back in February of 1934. So what we did then was announce all of our winners through a PR program. That's still what we do today. And that's why I say the Master Gardeners are so helpful. So when you understand how an AAS winner becomes an AAS winner, you talk about it, you can promote it. So we're still doing the same thing today. And here's something that's really fun. This is one of our first winners, the 1933-34 edible winner, Imperator Carrot, and it is still available. I've got the logos there of some of our members where it's available, but isn't that fun? I mean, basically, these are considered heirlooms now, and they are still on the market, so they must have been pretty good to last that long. So here's an interesting story. What we are today is the oldest, most established, I crossed out international, independent testing organization in North America. And just a fun story there. One time I was giving a presentation to industry, and this was probably like 15 years ago. Little did I know that somebody from the Royal Horticulture Society was in the audience, and I had this slide up. And he raises his hand. He says, Diane, I think RHS is a little older than AAS. I'm like, okay. So now when I tell the story, I cross out international because he's right. RHS is older than All America Selections. Some of the most common questions that we get is, you know, kind of on the financial side, like, well, you're a nonprofit organization, so how does this all work? How much do breeders pay to enter? So yes, it's the breeder's choice of what they put in the AAS trials, and they pay anywhere from $800 to $1,500 per entry, and then it gets trialed in about 24 to 30 different trial sites across North America, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. How do we make our money? It's not by those entries. Those barely cover our cost. The biggest majority of our income comes from an assessment on the sale of those AAS winners. So when the breeders are selling them to the brokers, the dealers, the growers, seed packet companies, etc., it's a percentage of those sales is what comes back to us for a limited period of time. It's only 3, 5, or 7 years, depending on the winner. And somebody once asked, have you had any disasters? And yeah, we've had some disasters. One thing was COVID. That was a very, very bad year for our trials because there were a lot of our judges that just couldn't get into their trials. Like universities were banned from coming on site. And let's see here. Why did it take so long to do a perennial trial, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But when you think about a perennial trial, it's over 3 winters. that gets really complicated. It asks a lot of our judging sites. So the majority of our winners over the past 90 years have been annuals and edibles, but we do have perennials. But it is a much more difficult, time-consuming trial. Why are some trials no longer anonymous? This has to do with the day and age. Fewer and fewer breeders. And when we started working with perennials and annuals that are vegetatively propagated, that product has to get sent directly to our judges. It can't come into our office like seed is, because seed, it comes in our office, we repackage it to make sure that there's no obvious labels or tags or anything on it that says who it is. But when you're talking about live plants or URCs, unrooted cuttings, it's pretty much impossible to do. So that takes the anonymity out of some of our trials. And then competitors. I told the story about RHS. We work with them very closely, but I would not consider them a competitor. Their trial is totally different. And the genera that they trial are quite different. They're much more varied. You know, they're doing fruit trees and everything like that. So really, there are no competitors to All America Selections. There's a regional group out in Colorado called Plant Select, and they do a similar thing on a regional basis. But pretty much we're the only one doing what we do in North America. Okay, the trialing process, just kind of go through this step by step. We've got entry submission, that comes from the breeders, the product delivery that I just talked about, seed comes in here, but if it's a live plant from something vegetatively propagated or a tissue culture, that goes directly to the judges plant it, they observe, they give them ratings, they scores, the scores come into the office, we tabulate them, the breeders are notified that, yay, congratulations, you have an AAS winner, or the harder information is, I'm sorry, it didn't score enough, so it did not become a winner, and then the awards are accepted. So that's it in a nutshell. For most entries, that's a year-long process. For the perennials, it's a 3-year process. So it's not a quick thing. This is what one of our trials looks like. It's very much a scientific experiment. The yellow tag there is the entry. The two on either side are the comparisons. And the judges are looking at these in detail saying, okay, well, they said it was more compact. They said it was an orangier orange and that it does not fade, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what they're looking for. And we call this our classic trial. This is in-ground row trials. We have definitely expanded our trials over the years. Like I said, we started with edibles and ornamentals grown from seed and in ground. Those are the only 2 trials we had when we started, all the way up through 2014. Then we really started to expand. In 2015, we added the perennials that I've talked about, and we also added the ornamentals from non-seed propagation, and we started those only in containers. This is an example of one of our perennial trials that shows only the entry, not the comparison. And that is in ground. I realize it's a raised bed, but in this particular location, which is in Washington, they do everything in raised beds to help with drainage. So they know what they're doing. So we're going to trust them to trial our perennials. In 2021, we started putting more of a focus on containers. Everybody's doing so much more container gardening. So we added edibles in containers, the ornamentals from seed in containers, and then we also added ornamentals non-seed, but grown in ground. And then in 2023, we added a series trial. And this is just a quick look at some of our container trials. And actually all of those were winners over the last few years. But a series trial, what is a series trial? And so if you look at the geranium on the far right, geranium Calliope medium dark red was a winner several years ago. And let's say this breeder says, well, I would like more colors in my series to be entered into the AAS trials. Before we introduce this series trial, when a breeder put a new color in, the rule and the standard for AAS is that the entry has to perform better than the comparison. Well, if you look at these, they're all going to have the same garden performance. It's just that it's a new and different color. So we had to make a new trial to encourage breeders to put more colors in a series, because the garden performance is going to be the same, but is it still a good color? Is it a good new color in the series? Does it perform as well as the first AAS winner? Yes, 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 and yes. Well, then it becomes a new AAS winner. So this was just something to really encourage breeder to enter more colors of a series. I mean, look at the profusions, look at the wave petunias. We've got some nasturtiums in the baby series right now. There are a lot of things that are really good and have multiple colors, and it just helps everybody if multiple colors are entered into our trials. So that's something new we just started 2 years ago. This is a quick overview of our trial sites throughout North America. We have about 90 judges in 80 different locations. They are divided by regions. We have 6 regions, and we try to always have at least 4 trials in every region, just to make sure that, you know, we're getting good coverage, to make sure that all these different climates and growing zones are covered by our trials. I talked a little bit about this in the beginning, part of the process. The judge gives us their input on the score, and then they ask 2 questions. Should it be an AAS winner? And does it deserve a gold medal? So a gold medal is top. It has to really outperform everything else and have amazing garden performance. Some of the profusion zinnias are gold medal winners. Bee's Knees Petunia a few years ago was a gold medal winner. There's Viking Begonia was a gold medal winner. Those are the ones most recently. So that's how we determine the winners. This is just a quick look at a few of our judges, and the types of jobs they have are very widespread, varying. I'm looking here. We have universities, we have a seed buyer, we have extension, we have public gardens, we have professional growers, we have breeders themselves that are judges. I think that kind of covers the variable titles and professions that each of our judges are holding, while they are also volunteering to be an AAS judge. Key point about these comparisons, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think this is very, very true for this one. So here the entry is on the left, and then there are 2 comparisons. And the claim on this one is that this Gara was more floriferous and it was more compact, so it didn't have that lodging and falling over. And you can tell it definitely has more flowers than that one in the middle, and it's more compact than the one on the right side. And if you ever want to know which one of our AAS winners or which comparison was used for the AAS winner, this is that Gara, Sparkle White, and the comparisons were the Bride and Summer Breeze. So you'll see that on our website, and it'll be called Close Market Comparison. Here's another one where it's kind of difficult. This is Golden Gold Watermelon, which was our winner, again, about 5 years ago, and that's on the left, obviously. There was nothing else like it on the market. There was nothing that had the gold rind or yellow rind along with the golden yellow flesh. And so we had to grow it next to some other things. One of those, and I can't remember if it's the middle one on the right, actually has yellow flesh, but a green rind. And then that one in the middle, we use it as a comparison because it was closer in size, not exactly the same. But these judges have their work cut out for them when they're growing things and comparing them. Okay, so this one shows the 2 comparisons that were just in that photo that I showed you. Here's another key thing with our vegetable entries is taste. All of our judges have to taste everything. Sometimes they pull in their audience. This is a university down south, and they actually have a day where they allow their students to come in and vote on the tomatoes. So the judge definitely uses primarily his opinion, but he does take into consideration, because, you know, taste can be kind of subjective. So then what? Once we get these in and we have winners, then what happens? These are our 3 announcement dates. If you are not on our newsletter list, you should definitely sign up for it. If you go to either one of those websites and sign up for that list, then you're going to be on our list to get new AAS winner announcements, or just go to our website on each one of these months and you'll see the newest winners. So what is my job? I talked about how we do PR, and this is kind of my favorite part of the job. I get to be like a cheerleader. And what do? So we're on social media. If you want to follow us on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We are really on Pinterest. We have almost 60,000 followers on Pinterest. And then YouTube, we've really exploded with YouTube. Actually, that says 9.92. And I think as of today, we were 9.98. So we're almost 10,000 subscribers on our All America Selections YouTube. We also have NGB's YouTube, and we have about the same number of subscribers there. And we put videos out on every single AAS winner, plus additional tips as it relates. What we also do is that traditional PR we talked about. So we work with trade publications, we work with consumer publications, print, online, you name it. We're out there trying to promote our products. So this is our website as it looks right now. We are in the process of launching a new one. It will launch this fall, but I think this is where there's a lot of opportunities for you. Like I said in the beginning, there is a wealth of information. And so it's here for you to use. And I just thought I would walk through a little bit. AAS Winners is the first one. This is the most frequently visited page on our website. And you can go in there and you can search for AAS Winners. You can search by year, you can search by crop, you can search by different, indeterminate tomatoes versus determinate tomatoes, whatever it is that you want to search for, you can do that. Let me show you the next page. This is what you see when you look at an AAS winner page. So you've got the description, you got to drop down on where to buy. Down below, there's all kinds of additional information like how to grow them and everything. So there's a lot of information on every one of these pages. The photos are downloadable, but for you, we do have high-res photos if you want them. All you have to do is get in touch with me. I'll put my email at the end in the chat, and I can send you a link to our Dropbox folder where it would be high res. So if you're doing something in print, you want a higher resolution photo than what you can get from our website. So now I'm going to go back. And so display gardens, and I do want to talk about a little bit more about display gardens in like 2 more slides, because I think that's where a lot of you might come in. We do have a blog, and again, you can use that information in your newsletter however you want to. And then up here are our social media buttons. Okay, so now let's talk about display gardens. So right now we have about 200 display gardens, and I have to tell you, a lot of them are master gardener groups. If you have a demonstration garden and are interested in being a display garden, you can go back to our website. Okay, right here, this display garden, that drop down, it will say, how do I become a display garden? You click there. We're going to give you all the information you need, as well as an application. There's a $25 application fee, but other than that, there's no fees. We put you on our website. We feature you in our social media. We send you seeds and plants. We also send variety markers. So these go out to all of our display gardens so you can properly what do I want to say? Mark all of the AAS winners. The QR codes is something new since COVID. So anybody who knows how to use a QR code can go scan it, and then they would be able to, it would take them right back to our webpage with all the information about that variety. We also offer informative like 8x10 signs, and we don't tell display gardens they have to. This is used more by garden centers, but still it's information that we make available. So now we have tons of winners. We have over 900, but I could only do a few today, and I don't know how much time. So if you guys need to interrupt me, you can. I think I can get through maybe about 12 if I go real quick. Again, these are all on our website, and so you can always go look at those. So the 2024 and 2025 winners, one of our little slogans we use is the proof is in the plant. So try it, you'll like it. You'll see why it's an AAS winner. Here's Piedmont basil. And so anybody who is in an area that is having to deal with downy mildew on your basil, you will want to try this one. They are constantly breeding new varieties of basil that not only taste good, they have that good Genovese basil flavor. Keep in mind, basil is one of my favorite things to grow. But every year there's going to be a new strain. So you kind of have to keep up. And this is one of the newest ones that has really good DMR resistance. broccoli purple magic, nice purple broccoli that we really hadn't seen before, that was in both the head and the stem. The next one is Celosia burning embers. And this one is really cool because it kind of has those bronzy leaves with the dark pink veining that match the plumes really well. Then we have this cauliflower. So there's something about purple veggies lately is quite a trend. And this is called a sprouting cauliflower. So it has a nice long tender stems. And that purple color will keep if it's very lightly steamed, or just, serve it raw, put it in a salad or a crudité platter. The other celosia we have, there's two of these. This is kind of that series I was talking about, Orange Flamma. And this is that picture I showed you earlier of the trial in ground. It did become an AAS winner. And then a year later, they put Flamma Pink in our trial, and it too performed really well. Very heat and humidity tolerant, these two celosia are. Then we've got this Dahlia Black Forest Ruby. The whole series is named after gemstones. So this is Ruby, and it's called Black Forest because of the black foliage on there. And it gets, about 20 inches tall, I believe. Mine was a little bit taller. I had mine in a container last year, so I think it was closer to that 27 inches tall, but the color on those blooms is amazing. This dianthus is a vegetatively propagated one, and it has better heat tolerance. And if you snip them back, cut a few for a little short cut flower bouquet, they will just keep blooming and blooming and blooming. And they've got a really nice light pink white edge on each one of the petals. Geranium Big Easy Pink Batik. Somebody wanted to call this Pink Freckles, which I thought was a really good name, and that describes the coloration on those petals really well. And then we have the Solarscape XL Pink Jewel Impatiens. So they're called Solarscape. They do well in sun and shade. So that's really nice, especially if you're somebody like me. I just had to take some trees out of my backyard. Still crying about that, but now I have sun, so I can still grow impatiens. And by the way, let me say this, impatiens was having that mildew problem as well. That wiped out a lot of impatiens. This is an interspecific one, so it is resistant to disease, and that's really important, makes all of us more successful. For kohlrabi lovers, we have Constance, which is a nice purple smooth skin kohlrabi. Then Mango Tango, feel like somebody should start dancing here. Marigold is a brand new one, and it's that nice bicolor, a very sturdy, uniform bicolor that stays throughout the summer. Here's a new petunia. This is a vegetative petunia called Deco Max Pink. And the big thing about this one is how weather tolerant it is. It's a little bit of a smaller petunia. I know a lot of people are like, breed bigger petunias, bigger flowers. But then when the rain comes along, it takes them a long time to recover. So these are smaller flowers and they recover better from the sun. Here's another petunia called Shake Raspberry, and kind of looks like a raspberry that's shaped, that's not stirred up quite all the way. Beautiful coloration, and I think every flower is just slightly different. So it really does look like raspberry swirls in a milkshake. And then we've got Pick and Pop Pepper. And that is a tongue twister. Yes, so I'm only going to say it once. It was named as such because it is a snacking size pepper. So the breeder was just envisioning you're standing in your garden and you're popping these things, and you're picking them and popping them in your mouth. And that's yellow, so a very sweet snacking pepper. On the other end of the scale is Red Impact. It too is a sweet pepper. It's a Lamayo type pepper, but from what I understand, those are difficult to grow. So they've worked on making these much easier to grow, and a very thick-walled, large pepper. And then we've got the petcoa. The petcoa is a cross between a petunia and a calibrachoa. So you don't have that stickiness on it, and you really don't have to deadhead it. This is from the Inviva series, and it is pink. And every time I look at this, I just want to put it in a combination with something yellow to bring out that yellow throat. And then we've got this one, Sure Shot White, which is just a very, very nice white. Obviously, the blooms cover it. I had one in my container last year, and it looked exactly like that, with me not giving it much special treatment at all. And okay, here's a bicolor Snapdragon double shot. Now we had double shot orange bicolor a few years ago, and now we've got yellow red heart. This is another one from the series trial. And we've got 2 squash. This is called Green Lightning. Very fast to grow, very high yielding, and not only do they taste great, remember, all of our judges taste them, but they also would be used decoratively, as would Thriller, which is our other squash. So this one has beautiful colorations on it, and you can see how they kind of vary on the different fruits. Then we have this verbena, and this one is called Sweetheart Kisses, and it is more like a ground cover verbena. And in fact, they say it's great for landscape and containers, or can be used as a ground cover. And I think we're closing here on the last few. Vinca Sphere Polka Dot. It's called Polka Dot for obvious reasons, but it's called Sphere because it is a very much of a mounded shape for a Vinca. And look at this, Zinnia Crestar mix. So these are the crested tufted zinnias, and they come in a mix. So you have an automatic cut flower bouquet when you're growing this one. And then Zinnia Zydeco Fire. If you don't know Zydeco music, Google it. It's very peppy. You don't need coffee if you listen to Zydeco music, put it that way. So this is a really nice double flowered, brightly hued zinnia, perfect for your pollinator garden. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. I said that I was going to give you my email address, so let me put that in here. And any other questions, I would be happy to answer.
You're welcome to either type them in the chat, or you're welcome to also unmute, and you can ask them that way too. If there's any in the chat, I'll pull those up.
I'm looking through real quick to see, let's see here. People love the puppy, right? That's what happens all the time. Are we able to order cards or PR flyers for our booth displays? We have the things on our website, and you can download them if you want to print them. If you're not one of our display gardens, we don't order extras or anything. So we order just enough for our display garden. So hopefully that answered your question. To be included in next year's display garden, basically what we want you to do is just read through our, I hesitate to call them rules, our expectations. If you read through our expectations and think you are able to fulfill those, then please apply. It's a little late in the year right now. If you apply now, we would try to get you what seeds we have left. But even if you apply now and want to do it for next year, basically what we want you to agree to is that you are going to use variety markers, either ours or ones you produce yourself, to make sure that the AAS winners are in your garden and are identifiable as AAS winners. So that's the main thing. If you want to get really engaged, we have a lot of opportunities. We send out a monthly newsletter. We have an annual best practices meeting that everybody's invited to participate in. We have a little competition, and we have a theme every year. This year it's called STEAM, not STEM. We're putting STEAM. We're adding the art to it. STEAM in the garden. And so our display gardens, we usually get about 20 out of the 200 display gardens to participate, and then they win a trip to our meetings, our annual meetings that we have, and they get a lot of recognition, and we do the press releases for them. So let's see here. Would it be available for this year? Yes, it would, but we won't have quite as many seeds available just because we've run out. It's too late to get the plants for this year. But if you were to apply now, I'm sure we could probably send you at least 24 varieties. And then this fall, well, actually this coming November, December is when we send out all the seed for next year. So you would get all of them. We send 3 years worth. And then you would also be able to order the plant material. Oh, County Fairgrounds. We have several at County Fairgrounds. We love that. Great opportunity for you to educate people as they're coming through about all the different varieties. So yeah, a county fairground if it's a master gardener, like demonstration garden, absolutely. We have several. Oh, trial. How many? We usually trial between 50 and 60 varieties. And then when it comes down, gets through the system, we usually end up with 15 to 20 winners. So it's, we don't say we have to have a tomato every year, or we have to have 50% of them be winner. It's all on their own merit. It's, if you perform, you can become an AS winner. Thank you for that question. I usually put that in my presentation. I forgot that one this year. You guys are good with questions. Thank you so much.
Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, those were good questions. And we will also post the resources. I know you said you were going to send out some links and other things. So when I send out the email that contains the recording, we'll include those. And then Ashley and I are also going to start a spot on the EMG website where we'll start putting some of the resources so we can house anything that Diane might send to us, we can house there for you. So if you have questions later, you can refer to that. I'm ready to plant after seeing all those flowers and vegetables ready to go.
You and me both.
Well, thank you so
right.
much for that, Diane. We are going to launch a quick poll for you coordinators that are still online. If you don't mind to answer these couple quick questions.
All right, I think we just have a couple more slides to share to wrap up at the end. So our next webinar is going to be April 9th. You can register for all the webinars separately, obviously through the link, and I'll send that out again as well. Again, take a look at the descriptions that we have for all the webinars for 2025. They're really good. And so we hope you're able to attend them. And if not, again, we'll post all of the webinars once we have them recorded. We'll have them up on our YouTube channel. We'll put them there, and you can refer other people to them or revisit them as you would like as well. Okay, so we have a couple more questions coming into the chat. Thanks, Diane, for getting to those as people are asking those. Lots of interest in growing all of those selections. Yeah, some really cool plants included. All right, well, thank you all so much for attending today. We will see you back in April 9th at 1 o'clock Eastern time for our next EMG webinar. So thank you all so much for attending.